What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Dash today, DASH USD. It is the 25th day of May, and here we are sitting at about $46.10 with roughly 11 hours and 13 minutes left in the day. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here, and let's get into it, my friends. Here we are, finding resistance here on the last 2 days now at the same areas we found resistance here before, same areas that we found resistance here before. It was in my perspective, in my opinion, in my belief system, that from these lows we would see a higher high. That was what I believed we would see. However, we found some serious resistance. We found some serious resistance and came down, and you found a little bit of support. But again, you're finding resistance now where you found resistance before, where you found resistance before back here, even where you found support for a little bit of time right here and resistance there. So it's not looking good. The volume that came in was exceptional, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It does make me believe that the heading that we have is no longer to the upside, but rather to the downside to break out. And I do believe Bitcoin's going to go lower. I believe the rest of the crypto market's going to go lower, so it kind of makes sense. Zcash has had quite the run, and it may be taking a break as well. Just because Dash goes lower doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see lower lows, but we'll see. We'll see if we get there. I'll, hold on to your hats. Maybe that's exactly what the prediction will be by the end of this video. Let's look at the short-term stuff, and then we'll zoom out, okay? Understand, none of this is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm wearing pajamas right now, okay? So let's see here. Hold on. Get this the right way. There we go. I'm wearing very, very fitting pajamas for this. It says Papa Bear because we're bearish today, baby. I am the Papa Bear. Can't you tell by the beard? Anyways, 46.22 right now, looking at the 1 hour time frame. As you're moving up here, this is a rather, relatively speaking, a rather aggressive candle. Now, we've seen much more aggressive movements, much more aggressive candles that still sold off afterwards. But for such an aggressive candle, relatively speaking, there really wasn't that much volume. And you had just as much volume in the very next candle, which was about half the size. So, or at least the wicks included were half the size. So, in my opinion, here you should have been breaking out. You should have been getting continuation, and you didn't. You rejected. You found resistance. It was a fake out. That doesn't bode well. And typically that implies you're going to go to the downside. You've been very sideways and wishy-washy throughout this range. It wouldn't surprise me. You came up sideways wishy-washy. If you come down, it's kind of like a wide BART pattern. And with that, the question is, do we hold this low or do we see a lower low? And we'll come to that conclusion or that prediction of that conclusion here soon. Looking at the 1 hour time frame, the RSI is struggling to get overbought. You did have a little uptrend here, higher lows, higher highs. The fact that you're moving sideways now puts the ball in the bear's court, I think, to answer with a lower low, lower high situation here. Now, you did get overbought, technically. You rejected the overbought zone, but you were oversold a lot longer. I wouldn't really say here, even though you got a little bit overbought, I wouldn't say that you were getting overbought. I would say you rejected it, and what you really did was, without getting too overbought, you broke out of an uptrend. Typically, when you have a downtrend, those downtrends end. You can see here that it ends in the oversold zone. When you have an uptrend, typically, those uptrends end when you get in the overbought zone. This is kind of an ugly uptrend, but it did end in the overbought zone. If you're in an uptrend and you can barely get in the overbought zone or you don't get in at all, that's not a good sign, let alone if you break out like this. I really do believe we're going to see lower prices. I really do believe this RSI right now is showing some bearish potential. The stochastics are crossed down. It's weird. We're moving sideways. I'm not going to weigh in on that too much. The MACD is not reliable either. We're getting crosses up, crosses down. Nothing's happening. We're just moving sideways. So the 1 hour time frame might not be as helpful. And typically, for any aspiring technical analysts out there, when you're in a environment that's choppy and sideways, whether it's wide like this or very narrow like this, whatever it is, typically your indicators, all indicators, are less reliable. There might be some that are more reliable than others, but they're all less reliable than they normally would be. Your indicators are most reliable whenever you're ranging, whenever you're doing, I guess that is ranging, whenever you're doing this, but whenever you're swinging, I guess, I don't know, whenever you're seeing actual movement. Looking at the 4 hour time frame here, the RSI is at an area where we found support, where we find resistance before. It's not bearish. I mean, overall, you're getting overbought, not getting oversold. It's not bearish overall, but you are neutral, and the price action is neutral. Stochastics are back at the overbought zone, so even though you're neutral, you have reset your stochastics. I don't know if that's a good thing, right? Think about it like this: when you were getting overbought before, you moved up a little bit here. You were still in this consolidation phase, but then you got overbought here. Your last time that you were overbought, you were expanding. Here you're overbought. I guess you're moving up a little bit. This could come. You're in the same areas as the RSI. The only difference really is that here you broke out of a downtrend when all this is going on. There's no downtrend that you're breaking out of here. It's a little bit more messy. It's not as clear. I suppose it's more bullish on the 4-hour time frame. The MACD finding support at the zero, that's not a bad thing. It's really not a bad thing. However, what I will say I don't like here is that you're finding support at the zero here. You haven't really done much. Like, this should be a move that is promoted like this. It shouldn't be something that lags. Why are you hesitating? The hesitation, the resistance of prior support and prior resistance here and prior, I mean, like, we just look at all these significant points throughout this range. That's what gets me. I can be wrong. I've been wrong before. I will be wrong again. And typically, here's another point in the bull's favor. Typically, whenever you wick above the 382, you go to the 236. If you don't go higher, if you find resistance in this area again, typically you go lower. You did go higher, you found resistance, but you didn't go lower. You maintain higher lows and higher highs. It's so screwy. It's so screwy. I mean, it really could go either way. I'm certainly sticking with the bearish thought because I believe Bitcoin's going to move down. I mean, Dash could move up. It really could. If you get above, it doesn't take much to prove me wrong here. It doesn't take much to flip me bullish in this, and I will be bullish. I really only say proven wrong or proven right because people love to hate me. So whenever I do bad, whenever I'm proven wrong, it gives them some excitement, and I like to feed the trolls. Whenever I'm proven right, it gives me an excuse to talk some smack. So really, though, it doesn't matter, right? Proven wrong, proven right. If we're trading this or looking at this as some type of potential investment in the short term, you flip bullish once you get a 4-hour close above $47. So even if I'm wrong, we flip bullish here. Okay, cool. I was wrong for a little bit, and then we were right for a lot of it. You know what I mean? Or even if it's half that move, even if it's a lower high, the amount of right you will have is much more than wrong. And I'm taking this perspective of going to the downside. Being right, being wrong doesn't matter. It matters how well you manage your risk and how effective you are at pivoting, I suppose. 4-hour time frame is not that helpful. The most bullish thing here would be the MACD. But again, that's a very bullish look. Bouncing off the zero like this is a very bullish look. Where's the very bullish movement? Why? And maybe we've stalled because it was the weekend. That there's all kinds of ways to spin this in the bullish and the bearish favor. So I'm at a pretty neutral stance here. If I'm flipping the coin, I'm betting on the bearish side. But it's really pretty 50-50 here. Daily time frame, you guessed it, man. It's a very neutral reading as well. Overall bullish, certainly overall bullish. Looking at the price action again, though. Hold on. Just in the essence of this thought that we're in an uptrend, higher lows beget higher highs. Well, where's the higher high? Why are we getting a lower high? Whenever we bounced from this area before, that was a massive bounce. When we bounced here from this line before, that was a massive bounce. This bounce, it was still pretty large. But in comparison to these two bounces, it wasn't that heavy, was it? I don't think it was. And that was some serious resistance that you found there. So it makes me hesitant. If we return back to this line here, I would assume that we break down. I would assume that. Daily time frame, RSI, bullish overall, but kind of neutral. The MACD is definitely bullish overall, but taking on a bearish shape. Whenever you come down here and you reject like this, whenever you're about to cross but you reject, that's not a good thing. Certainly not a good thing. And the stochastics are screwy, but so is the price action. You're kind of choppy and sideways. So yeah, I would say the stochastics, even though it is screwy, is more bearish than bullish. The MACD, even though it's bullish, there are hints of bearishness. Same thing with the RSI. I'm bearish, man. Did a lot of talking just to say I'm bearish. I haven't seen, what I will say is I haven't seen enough to really thoroughly back that bearish conclusion. I don't see enough to back the bullish conclusion either. But here, looking at this from the high back in November of 2025 to the low that we had here in April of this year, you went from your 382 to your 236. At this point, you should have gone higher, but you didn't. You had higher lows here. You should have gone higher, but you didn't. It just makes me hesitant what we've done here over the past week now. If you get below, again, I said if you get above $47 on a 4-hour closing basis, I'll be proven wrong. We'll be flipping bullish, $47. But if we get below, so if we get above $47 on a 4-hour basis, then I'm wrong. If we get below roughly $43, let's say $43.20 on a 4-hour closing basis or a daily closing basis, we get below there, that would likely promote lower lows, lower than these lows here. In fact, if we take this from a low to a high, we should get something in the range. Come on now, hold on. Something in the range of $36 to $33, something in that area. Yeah. Support down here, resistance down there, perfect area to find some support. I do believe Dash overall is moving down to 36.65 to 32.82, something in this area. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all. Take care of yourselves. All right. Bye-bye.